Excuse my voice, it's early in the morning, trying to get it right, and I got to get this video out. Can't be late on my posts every day. Yo, this is a very interesting one I want to share with the world, and I want to shout out to every man that is on child support, or what's the other word would I say, is a slave. Yeah. Let's just say that. For every man that's on child support is a slave, is property of the state. Question for those that ever had a wonder. A lot of times they post laws all the time, in public. I don't know, on C-SPAN, you watch the Senate or the House be in session. They're not assembled, they're just in session. Two different things. Congress hasn't been assembled since 1861. This is a whole nother different faction. But nonetheless, the Congress, which is a group of guerrillas, that's what a Congress is a group of guerrillas. This law is by the state, though. It's not federal. This is not a federal law. Feds do not come after you if you're not paying child support. Okay? The state, and I'm sorry, it ain't the state. The county, your particular county whatever county that your child support is in, that county comes after you. So what law, rule, statute, code controls or effectuates child support in the union? Does anyone know? Has anyone ever posted this law so you could read it, so you could actually see what is bending you over and taking it with no Vaseline? I'm going to show you. Remember these four entities: state, Title IV agency, CPS, which is Child Support Services, in each county. Each county has one. And Social Security, state, Title IV agency, CPS, and Social Security. These four entities or groups or labels or corporations or agencies work concurrently to put you into slavery. It's very perfect to prove why your Social Security number also is a tax ID number and is sold every day and traded every day on the stock market. But that's a whole nother conversation. We're going to explain child support right now. First things first, and understand this. I know it's going to be a weird word to understand, but we got to understand this first before we proceed. Okay? Now, there is no law for child support. There's I'm trying to be respectful. I don't like lawyers per se because they're too smart for their own good. You know what I'm saying? They're too smart for their own good. Because they're not really going to explain anything to you. It's not for them to do it anyway. Unless you're going to school, unless you go to law school, something like that. Or you study law, you practice it. Yeah, that's all they're doing. They're practicing it. But you can practice it too. You don't need to go to a school to do it the way they do it, or show you the way they need you to know it for you to use it for the bar, the British Accredited Registry. Y'all might not have knew that. What these merchants are here to do. A merchant is what they call now a lawyer or an attorney. But in law, historically, there only was one law on the land. That was mercantile law. And mercantile law needed merchants, which are what these folks are, to trade, to learn to trade, to learn how to trade, to learn how to conduct trade, or to learn how to conduct commerce. But for the record, there is no such law for child support. None. It doesn't exist. Okay? It doesn't exist, so get it out your mind. I'm going to explain what it is. But the law itself, like, oh, this is child support law. You do this under this circumstances because of this. Nope, doesn't exist. Child support, no, doesn't exist. There's something else that exists, but that ain't it. The state cannot pursue any person for child support. That's pause. I'm gonna just leave a silence there because I want you to think. Now we open up the brain capillaries. We open up the frontal lobes. Title IV agency and CPS are not the same entity. Do we understand that? For every man that has received, whatever, it can only be a complaint. No, I'm sorry. It can't be a complaint. Complaint has to come, or something has to come from the sheriff. Through the mail, Child Support Services, quote unquote, Title IV agency, sends you a letter or sends you a bill. Now, what is Title IV agency? And how is it separate from CPS? And go back to the first thing I said. The state cannot pursue any person for child support, and there is not a law for child support. So we on the same accord? All right. Okay. Social Security. This is the fourth entity. You got the state, Title IV agency, CPS, and this motherfricker right here. Now, this is how this works. There are laws for Social Security, or there are rules, and there are guidelines, statutes, blah, 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 blah. This is how this one goes down. And listen and read. In the statute, and statutes are not law, okay? They are legal terms for pro se entities, state, subjects, and legal ain't law. Two separate ability to conduct guidelines for people in the state and those of the state. Legal is for those of the state. Law is for those in the state. You have an American citizen. You have a United States citizen. And pro se, or pro se, however you want to pronounce it, is Latin for, what is it Latin for? Do y'all know? Anyone know? I mean, do we even give a damn? I give a damn. Pro se is Latin for prosecute. In Latin, or prosecute, cuts up and serve and distributes to another. I repeat it. I got the time. Define. Pro se is Latin for prosecute. I spelled it out so you can understand who does the cutting up, because that's exactly what it means in Latin, to cut up and to serve, distribute to another. This is what prosecutors do. This is what district attorneys do. This is what assistant DAs do. This is what anyone for county or state, for them, that's what they do. Now, in each statute, in each state, legal, statute, code, rules, guidelines, and why these terms are not whatever law. Well, I don't know if you're in your state, if you actually looked at the laws, and I have. I'm laughing and it's not funny, but I've looked at most of the unionized state laws, and they're not, quote unquote, stated as laws. They're stated as statutes. Code is penal code. That's federal. Rules, guidelines. Literally, this is what different states have very different legal terms that they use for their law. But it ain't law. It's for dead people. So, there is a law written, and it was established around the early 1990s, around 91, 93, that states that any dependent that seeks entitlements, the state can attempt or try to get those funds back from a dependent entity. And it does not state which dependent, but a dependent. I'm going to explain. In the law, in every state in the union, that was established around the early 90s, because you got to say, child support did not always exist. You got to remember, once upon a time, before the 1960s, 1970s, if a man or woman was married and they had children and they got a divorce, those children went with the man because 10 times 10, he was the breadwinner. It always went to the man. Laws have been put in place more on the side of women. I mean, just a fact. I mean, what the hell you think child support and alimony is now that we have that? But once upon a time, it didn't exist, just like child support. So around early 1990s, it was established. And it was established as a double-dipping law. It is a double-dipping law because what that law effectively means, if a dependent applies for any entitlements, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, welfare, any assistance whatsoever, that is a Social Security function. It falls under it. So every time a child is born, and let's say the mother goes to the clinic or any, to these agencies and apply for those services, they're going to ask, who's the father? And they're going to come after you. It's a double dipping law because it says anyone, because those are entitled, that's what is owed to the citizen. But nonetheless, they wrote that in place saying, well, you can get that money back. That's how it is. Title IV agency. Who are they? Simple as put, they are a bunch of lawyers. That's it. There's nothing else to add. There's nothing else to talk about. Maybe a staff that are paralegal or anything like that work with these attorneys or lawyers or DAs or assistant DAs or whatever. Whoever comes after you. That's all it is. And their whole job is to do what? Exactly. To come after your funds. Because you have a dependent out there and someone is getting money that's entitled to them by law that they created. Look, they the one who created the Social Security Act. That shit didn't exist until they created it. That was after the Great Depression. That's a whole nother teaching I'm going to have to teach. That's going to be an economics base. But because of that law, they said, hey, you can get that money back. These are the duties. They do not work for the state or the petitioner, plaintiff, complainant. They work on behalf of, i.e., consul. They file complaints, summons, and show causes, which is showing evidence, meaning when you walk into court and they say a show cause, and they say you come into court, you are the evidence against yourself. Automatically, you are guilty. That's what a show cause is. You are the evidence. Whether it has ever been explained to you what show cause was, I don't believe so. I know no lawyer took the time out of their day and said, this is what this means. Do not go into that court without representation, or do not go into court before you answer the complaint against you in an affidavit in court, filed with the clerk of the court. Don't walk into court and then file anything on your behalf before you go into that court. Because if you go into that court without a lawyer, without a public defender, without having answering the complaint, you are guilty as charged. Period. 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 That is what show cause is. It is evidence against you, and you are the evidence against yourself. CPS, child support services in each county, are what? They are another agency that was created, right? But what do they do? Actually, I know in my state, they can't even tell me where my children are at. I have no say-so, no control, never did, never have. I haven't seen them in over 13 years. No cap. Have no control. They can do whatever. That's the power of a woman under law that they have now. But period and utterly and at the utmost, they are a debt collection agency. That's all they do, right? They now issue out debit cards for child support in different places, and they're trying to limit what can be purchased with those funds, which I don't know why they didn't do that anyway. They did it with food stamps. They did it with welfare. You can't buy certain things with certain credits from the government if it's not specifically for that. But we know child support, people living off child support. It ain't just for those children. But that's all they are. It's a debt collection agency. It's no more than that. So when you go into court for child support, you got to understand something about law. Who do you owe? Meaning, what contract did you breach? What contract agreement did you breach? And with whom did you breach it with? And when was this contract established? Or has it been established yet? See, when your child is born, and if you sign that birth certificate, that's the contract. If you had not signed child signed the birth certificate when your child was born, and you are brought into court for child support saying that you are the father of this child, and you have yet to sign the birth certificate, they're going to now give you an affidavit birth certificate that you can sign in court, which establishes the contract agreement. But that contract agreement through Social Security, because when you signed that BC, you now issued a Social Security number for that child. For you, when you got yours, when your parents or your mother or your father signed your birth certificate or in court an affidavit. Now, the contract is with the state now. Because you didn't sign a contract with that woman. You didn't say, look, we have a child, I'm going to pay you X, Y, Z, and you didn't pay it, and now it's breached. No, we know why they come after you. Social Security, it's a double dipping law. They get money out of everything. They pull it from all your income. But when they say you come in to get something that you are owed, they can then come back and get it back through state law using federal law. It's a tricky slope. But you've never seen anyone in federal court for child support, now have you? Now you've been educated. Enjoy your day. Thank you to all the subscribers to the More View podcast. We have yet to be monetized, and any donations we want to give to the channel, so we keep it going for the 23 and on. It will be much appreciated. Thank you very much. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.